You know, my grandfather is an extraordinary man, incredibly talented and so creative. All of my family members are. And I think with that kind of creativity, that kind of ability to transform people's lives through their writing or whatever creativity they're into, there comes a lot of darkness sometimes.
Mariel Hemingway comes from a long line of great but troubled souls, where suicide was so common that it had to be more than just a coincidence. Breaking the Hemingway curse, depression, addiction, and the suicide gene. This week on My Healthy Mind. Welcome to My Healthy Mind. I'm Michael Hunter. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S., the 3rd leading cause of death for people aged 10 to 24, and the 2nd leading cause of death for people aged 15 to 24. And yet, less than half of the adults in the U.S. diagnosed with a mental health condition received mental health services in the past year.
Because clinical depressions and bipolar illnesses are sadly too often unrecognized, and even when they are not treated adequately in the way that they should be, the cost and burden consequences can be horrendous. And when you take one of every 5 of us, one of every 5 that was struggling, and you put them into the cost consequences and the burden, they referred to depression as the $500 billion disorder.
Mariel Hemingway is perhaps best known for her acting roles in films like Manhattan and Lipstick, and for her storied family, most notably her grandfather, author Ernest Hemingway, and more recently, her sister, model Margot Hemingway.
Even though it's a famous family, I think we all have a little bit of that stuff in our family, whether it's addiction, whether it's, whatever it is, whether there's some sort of mental disorder, and it doesn't make us bad. I think talking about it and revealing it to other people makes it good, it makes it okay, and it makes us safe, and it makes us better, because then we can find solutions.
Learning about her family history and the painful, long-suppressed tragedies that haunted 4 generations of Hemingways saved Mariel Hemingway from history repeating itself. Let's talk about it.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery.
Towards the 6th court date, I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes, B, console her,
don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Welcome to My Healthy Mind,
a show that dares to talk about mental health matters that touch nearly every family. Each week, you'll meet guests who share their stories, hear from local experts, and learn about resources that may help.
And so I was in a committee meeting at the House of Representatives when I realized that my daughter had autism.
We need to take the stigma away from mental health issues.
No topics about mental health and wellness are off limits on our show.
Let's talk about it. This Sunday at noon on My Healthy Mind.
Transformers. Each set sold separately, batteries not included.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. Until very recently, the tendency of depression, addiction, and suicide to run in families was little understood. But in 2014, scientists identified the genetic biomarker that unquestionably contributes to these kinds of mental illness, which get passed on from one generation to the next.
This is an extremely exciting time for the science. Scientists are building a mosaic, and part of that is genetics. They're searching for clues, laboratory tests that are guidelines almost for what the doctors will need to determine which treatment is likely to work best. Genetics are really a pivotal part of that, maybe the core part of it.
Today, we will be watching as my colleague Elizabeth Atkins speaks with Mariel Hemingway, who not only allows us into the fascinating and private world of her famous family, but explains how others can learn from her experiences.
Today, we're so delighted to have Mariel Hemingway, the Academy Award-nominated actress, author, and mental health advocate. Mariel, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us why you're here in Detroit and why it's so important.
Well, I'm here for Team Cares and Team Wellness, which is a wonderful foundation out of Detroit that is helping people start the conversation about, mental health and mental wellness. And that's my passion in life. I've become an advocate for mental health and actually physical health, all kinds of health, but I really believe that body, mind, spirit goes together, so I think it's a really important conversation, and I'm so honored to be a part of it here with Team Cares and Team Wellness.
Our viewers are already familiar with the Hemingway name because of your career, your sister Margot, and of course your grandfather, the Nobel Prize-winning author Ernest Hemingway, who spent his childhood here in Michigan fishing and camping. But our viewers may not be aware of the fact that the Hemingway family struggled for generations with addiction, mental illness, and suicide. So what else can you tell us about your family?
Yes, I mean, my family, my grandfather is an extraordinary man, incredibly talented and so creative. All of my family members are. And I think with that kind of creativity, that kind of ability to transform people's lives through their writing or whatever creativity they're into, there comes a lot of darkness sometimes. My grandfather suffered from deep depression, highs and lows. I suspect that he suffered from bipolar disorder. And he was an addict as well. He was an addict because he was self-medicating the depression. So that runs in my family. His father committed suicide. My grandmother's father committed suicide. I think his father's father committed suicide. So there was a lot of mental illness in the family, and so that's a hard legacy to kind of overcome. At the same time, I embrace what's great about it, but I talk about the reality of it. And I think, even though it's a famous family, I think we all have a little bit of that stuff in our family, whether it's addiction, whether it's, whatever it is, whether there's some sort of mental disorder, and it doesn't make us bad. I think talking about it and revealing it to other people makes it good. It makes it okay, and it makes us safe, and it makes us better because then we can find solutions.
What I think we really need to emphasize is the fact that these are not destiny. They are not a given thing. If we have genetic underpinnings, it does not automatically mean that that's going to convert into an illness. We have a lot to say about that because of our environment, our stresses, how early we treat it. But the thing that I like to pay attention to is that if we understand genetics, we can use it to guide us. We can talk about it.
Let's talk about how secrecy and silence only make the pain worse. You said your family never talked about problems, and in fact, when your sister committed suicide, you actually had a conversation to not talk about it.
It's a thing mental illnesses really feel for people like they have something to do with how we parented, how we are, how we don't communicate, something. it's somehow our fault. So my mother was like, oh my God, we don't want to shine a light on us because that will look like we're not doing a good job. So it was a family of secrets. When my sister Margot took her life, my father, initially the coroner had said it was a possible overdose, accidental overdose. And then it was announced that it was suicide, and my father just denied it. And I think for my father, it's a different issue. I think for my father, his father had taken his life. My grandfather's father had taken his life. There were many people who had taken their lives, and my father, I think, just couldn't handle the idea that his father left him and his daughter left him. And I think he just couldn't put his head around it. So we never spoke about it. And I started talking about it once my father had actually passed. She didn't write a suicide note. My dad was devastated. I mean, you can't lose a child and not be deeply affected. And you could see him, just the walls came crashing down. And he just went into complete denial. Nope. Nope.
When we return, Mariel Hemingway reveals how she used what she discovered about her family to redirect her own life.
Because I love life, I want to share that with other people so that they have a sense of hope that life is okay and they can be okay.
What if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Come on, it's not that hard.
My big man fingers are having a problem with these little tiny buttons.
Whoa, watch it there. Your blood pressure's gonna go through the roof.
Tell me about it. I'm trying to learn how to get it down. Instead, it keeps going up.
High blood pressure can increase the risk for heart attack or stroke. Learn how to keep yours at a healthy range.
Ever hear a voice command? Just say text barbershop to 97779.
That's not what I said.
Just give me that. Now my blood pressure's up.
What we have to recognize is that, gosh, if that many people have it, why aren't we more aware of it? Why aren't we hunting more for these illnesses? Why can't we find them and prevent? We're getting there. But there's that word that I hate, because it's an enemy, stigma. People don't like to talk about it. They don't like to acknowledge it. These are illnesses. They're illnesses just like arthritis and just like cancers and hypertension. If they break through that, we're going to manage to overcome a key barrier, which is even when people do know that they have it, only 40 to 50 to, and some places, if you're lucky, 60% of those are getting good treatment.
You said one of the hardest things you've ever done was to open up your life in the documentary film Running from Crazy, which aired on the Oprah Winfrey Network. What made you ready to open up your life and actually talk about these issues?
I don't think I was ready. I think that, it was really interesting. I remember thinking, oh, okay, I'll agree to do this. One of my really closest friends, Lisa Ersbammer, said to me, you've got to do a story on your family, and I want to produce it. I was like, what are you, you're out of your mind. They're crazy. And she's like, that's the point. I'm like, all right, I don't know. Anyway, so she found this wonderful director, Barbara Koppel, and I met with her. We met with a lot of people. And when I met Barbara, I really knew that she had a sense of, you know, she's a great filmmaker, and I knew that she could do it, and I felt safe. So I decided to do it. But I remember thinking, oh, it'll be no problem. I'm an actress. It'll be great. When you put the camera on me, I'll talk. But talking about your, you know, like your internal struggles or how you really feel about something, how you really felt about your sister or what these different things or how scared you were as a child, it's very different than, you know, putting on a costume and playing a role.
You know, everybody loved her. She was fun and she would laugh and she was, you know, really the life of the party kind of thing. It wasn't that I was jealous, because I wasn't, because I felt like people didn't see how stupid she was. It's embarrassing to say.
Now I realize it was what I didn't like in her was what I didn't like in myself. I judged her on being stupid because I was so afraid that people thought I was stupid. So it was a challenge. The funny thing is, it really began this career of really speaking out about mental health. I was before, but now, you know, now I don't find it hard at all. It was difficult then, but now it's like, wow, it's just, there's nothing I can't talk about. There's nothing that's off limits because we all share in the same thing, and it's called humanity, and we all struggle. And it's just about going, hey, it's okay. You're not alone.
In your documentary, Running from Crazy, it seemed like you were opening up to your daughters for the very first time.
I think you've always known a little bit about being sad. And I've always known that, and I never really knew how to help. So maybe this helps.
So what do you do to make certain that they don't succumb to addiction, mental illness, or suicide?
I'm gonna kick their butt? No. Basically, I was a bit threatening about that part of it. I was like, look, here's our family genetics, here's our family tree. I'm not saying don't do it, but you're playing Russian roulette, you know, because you don't know what will happen.
So before you said you couldn't, I thought it was so poignant, you said you couldn't relax into the joy of motherhood. Yeah. But now with your wellness lifestyle, can you relax into the joy of life?
Oh my God. It's so different. I have an amazing partner. His name is Bobby Williams. He's in the film. He always says, I didn't break the car. And he's much nicer than he comes off in the movie. But anyway, he's an extraordinary human being. And he's been a real catalyst to me kind of being okay with playing and being relaxed and being myself. And yes, I can relax into the joy of life. And I love life. And because I love life, I want to share that with other people so that they have a sense of hope that life is okay and they can be okay. Because I did suffer from depression for many years, and I didn't even know it until I wasn't. You know, it was like, that was how I lived, so I didn't realize that there was a different way of living. And now I do, and I have an amazing partner that I share my life with. And, you know, so life is good, and I want other people to know that life is good.
When we come back, more about breaking the Hemingway curse. Stay with us.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's all okay. You're loved, you're seen, and you can make it, you can find a solution.
This is the story of a boy who is very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome to My Healthy Mind,
a show that dares to talk about mental health matters that touch nearly every family. Each week you'll meet guests who share their stories, hear from local experts, and learn about resources that may help.
And so I was in a committee meeting at the House of Representatives when I realized that my daughter had autism.
We need to take the stigma away from mental health issues.
No topics about mental health and wellness are off limits on our show.
Let's talk about it. This Sunday at noon on My Healthy Mind.
I've got a job to do today.
I've got a job to do today.
Have a good first day at work, Mom.
Your donations to Goodwill fund job training programs right in your community.
Feels good to start fresh, right?
Sure does.
And like that, you're a job creator.
Welcome back to My Healthy Mind. Today we're tapping into the famously private life of the Hemingway family with Academy Award nominated actress, author, and mental health advocate, Mariel Hemingway.
Well, Mariel, you epitomize the mission of our show, My Healthy Mind, because our motto is let's talk about it.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And you're doing that, and you're helping so many people by telling your story and shining a spotlight on these stigmatized topics.
Right.
So is that your life mission, to speak out and make people feel safe and strong so they can share their struggle and get help?
Absolutely. I mean, part of it, you know, I get up there and I tell my story. You know, not because I think my story is so amazing. I think some people will tell me their story afterwards and it's like so horrific. It's like amazing, like horrible. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe you survived. My story's not that extraordinary, but the fact that I can tell it and I'm a celebrity and I have a name and all that baloney that people sort of like think is important, and it is important to a certain degree because it makes me them. It makes me a part of everybody's life. You know, I think that we all come from families. Nobody's perfect. You know, we all struggle. And the more we can talk about it, the less stigma there is. So I just say, I'll talk about anything. I mean, people are like, you talked about that? Yeah, I'll talk about anything because I think that, you know, once the words come out, they're just words. And history is past. You know, our history can't hurt us anymore. Our history is only stories that we have based our, you know, our present and our future on because of how we were brought up or what have you. But we can make different choices if we really understand the story. So it is my passion to give people permission to say, hey, this is who I am. I'm scared, I'm this, I'm that, I came from this, I'm in denial, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It's all okay. You're loved, you're seen, and you can make it, you can find a solution.
You live a life of mindfulness, which has almost become a buzzword. But what does mindfulness mean to you?
Mindfulness is really, it's a lifestyle choice. It's about being present. It's about taking time for yourself. It's about getting up earlier in the morning so that before you take your kids to school or make them breakfast even, you've taken time to just be still. I talk a lot about lifestyle and mindful living, which is conscious living. It's living with awareness. It's doing what you're doing when you're doing it. So if you do wake up a little bit early and you take time to be in stillness and you just go, you know what? I'm grateful for this day. I'm grateful for the people in my life. I'm grateful for myself. We don't take time to actually thank ourselves for getting where we get to. And so that's for me the beginning of a mindful day, is just taking time to be yourself. And then throughout the day, reminding yourself that, hey, we're all on this journey together. And let's just take a deep breath and allow it to be okay that we struggle, we go up, we go down, we're happy, we're sad. That's what mindful living is for me.
So what legacy do you want to leave?
Oh my goodness, that always sounds so bizarre and arrogant to me because I think coming from such an incredible legacy, you know, all I can say is that I do enjoy this ability to share a story, to share an open heart, and give other people permission to share theirs.
Mindful living, yet another effective weapon in the battle against depression, addiction, and genetics. Learn more when we return.
Stress, depression, and severe mental illness can happen to anyone. Team Mental Health Services has been helping those struggling with these conditions in southeastern Michigan. Within 24 hours of reaching out to our team, members receive psychiatric evaluations and begin the necessary treatment for recovery.
Towards the 6th court date, I finally stood up and said, I can handle this process the rest of the way. And it was all because of the motivation and encouragement I got from Team Mental Health staff.
Team Mental Health Services, because we care and you can.
Na 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 na, I love you so. I love you, I love you. La 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 la, la 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
When we have those Head Start pieces of information, we can intervene early. Genetics, any of these other things, it's not destiny. It's not automatic certainty that these things are going to develop. We can do something about it. But the most important thing is if things do start, help is available. Help is available. People need to go get it.
Elizabeth, what an intriguing story. A story of triumph over upbringing and genetics, achieved through mindfulness, therapy, and the joys of sharing openly and the pain.
That's so true. We want to help you on your quest for mental wellness, so we've put information on our website, myhealthymind.com. Please take a look. Visiting myhealthymind.com could be an excellent first step in the process of breaking the genetic cycle.
And we'd like to hear from you about what topics you'd like us to discuss on My Healthy Mind. We mean the tough topics, because we know that talking about them openly will help you remove the barriers from your path to well-being. So visit our website at myhealthymind.com, Twitter at myhealthymind, or on Facebook.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another edition of My Healthy Mind. Let's talk about it.